So today, earlier this morning, I had a call and someone asked me, what has compassion done for you in your life? Like, what testimony do you have about how it has transformed your outlook in life? And the first thing that came to mind was how incredible that I am here teaching about compassion when I was not a very compassionate person. And I say that because I can see the contrast. I can see the contrast of how I was in this incredible journey to execute, to achieve, to grow out of the conditions that I found myself in. As many of you know, I was a mom when I was 16 years old. And of course, what a way to trigger your survival instincts of moving towards a goal. So I went through college, studied physics, engineering, and was constantly like this constant drive, like this constant searching for achieving something in the future. So the contrast that I can see now compared to then is that I was so determined and focused and disciplined that I didn't have compassion for myself, and I didn't have compassion for other people either. And my daughter would tell me that her friends would come to the house and that I would intimidate them. Like she would tell me, you intimidate my friends because you're so demanding of yourself and you expect other people to have these high demands of themselves. And so I would have never imagined that I would be here talking to you about compassion, teaching self-forgiveness, teaching self-acceptance, teaching self-mastery and balance. Never would have imagined that that's what I would be doing with my life. And yet this is where I am. So the best testimony of what this energy has gifted me is in the fact that I left a highly paying career as an engineer in high tech so that I could find that inner balance, which has been so powerful for me. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to contribute. That's how I want to contribute. I want other people to experience that inner balance so that, yes, it could have the discipline and the achievements that come from external pursuit, but they also are able to fully enjoy the outcome of that hard work, internally accepting that internal satisfaction of delight of achieving something and still being able to be present or being able to let go of it. Sometimes we can't even let go of the things that we're so focused on, as well as have the capacity to have healthy relationships with those around us so that the people around us can feel safe in being themselves, safe in exploring who they are, safe that they're not going to be rejected. And we can only extend that to others when we can extend that to ourselves because we've practiced it. And that is what self-compassion does. So if that still doesn't make any sense, well, thank you for sticking around. I'm going to try to explain what that means from a step-by-step process. In the last live that we had together, we talked about the concept of projection. We talked about how projections have been a mechanism that our brains developed to keep us protected projections keep us protected, keep the ego protected from unconscious pain that we just didn't have the capacity to deal with in the past. And when we experience a sensation that is difficult, we don't want to witness it, and we project out into the world. This person is, if this person weren't here, if this situation weren't here, then I wouldn't feel this way inside. That's the projection. So if you've already been working on the path of purification, of the path of self-mastery, of the journey towards self, if you've already been in this healing journey, you perhaps already know that putting blame outside of you, fixing outside of ourselves is ultimately not conducive to long-lasting inner well-being. So if you've already been on this journey for a while, you know that's not the answer. So what happens then when we're not blaming outside, when we're not projecting out there, when we start to reflect before taking action, we start to reflect, and it's like, okay, it can't be something outside of me. What is it inside of me that is causing this inner battle, this internal battle? If it's not outside, it's going to be inside, right? That's the natural progression. When we stop projecting, blaming, making other people responsible for our pain, then we naturally start turning inward. This is clear, yeah? Okay. So this is where the ego has another strategy, because the ego loves to fight. And what happens when we're not fighting the world out there is that the ego turns around and starts fighting internally. Now the battle is with yourself. Now it's always been an internal battle. But when we stop that internal battle from taking action outside of ourselves, then it's this concept of now we have awareness of all that is happening inside of us. We are aware of the internal battle. And when we're aware of the internal battle, but we don't have the tools to witness what is happening inside with acceptance, with compassion and forgiveness, what happens is that we are constantly condemning ourselves. We're constantly criticizing ourselves. We're constantly battling with the things that arise to our minds that are not, it's not even our fault. Memories from the past, the things that your teachers would say, or your parents would say, or your partner would say, it's almost like it comes to hijack the present moment with that energy that was not even ours, right? But because we're not projecting and blaming anyone outside of us anymore, when we identify with the arising, the overlay that comes, we start to question, what kind of person am I? That I have like all of these angry thoughts. I feel so this discomfort, like, what kind of a person am I? We start that inner battle. And so there's a quote from someone that I wanted to bring out. Let me see if I find it. Yeah, so in the book, The Mindful Path of SelfCompassion, the author, Christopher Germer, said that the typical ego fight, flight, freeze response that we all know starts to turn inward. So fight turns into self-isolation, and freeze turns into self-absorption, And the fight response turns into self-criticism. The traditional fight response goes into self-criticism. The flight response turns into isolation. Sorry, I said that incorrectly the first time around. So flight turns into self-isolation, freeze turns into self-absorption, and the fight response turns into self-criticism. So, of course, self-criticism, self-isolation, self-absorption can happen even when we're not in this path. But as we go inward, that traditional egoic fight, flight or freeze then starts to attack all of that we become aware of in the inside. And so what we do in the 10-week of self-transformation, of compassionate self-transformation in the Intentional Evolution Intensive, is that we develop the awareness of all of the patterns, the mind states, the habits, the perceptions, projections, beliefs, the energetic states, all of these things that arise, we develop the capacity to become more and more aware of them. But becoming aware of these states without having tools to properly relate to ourselves, so difficult because of this other pattern that the mind has of attacking self when we're not attacking things outside of us. So this is how we start to alleviate the egoic battle. That it's no longer out there. Now it's like the egoic battle inside. And so that's just one of the examples of how compassion has transformed my outlook in life. Because when you apply compassion, when I have applied compassion to the arisings that show up in my mind, heart, and the energetic field, when I start to witness these things that show up with balance and forgiveness and compassion, cultivating awareness instead of chastising me and condemning myself for seeing these things. Oh, this is where I turn inward with compassion. Oh, with the willingness to see my own suffering and the inclination of the mind to alleviate that suffering. That's what compassion is. It's the willingness to witness my suffering and have skillful means to alleviate that suffering. And when I can do that to myself, when I'm no longer rejecting myself, blaming myself, shaming myself for what's going on internally, oh, the freedom that comes from that, one. But two, now this is how we get to free other people. I remember in a plant medicine ceremony, the facilitator was telling me in ceremony, Fern Marie, when we free ourselves, we free the world. When we free ourselves, we free the world. And I've heard teachers say, when you free yourself, you free others, but I didn't quite understand what that meant until I started to learn to be compassionate with myself. So when I'm not condemning myself, when I'm not judging myself, when I'm not blaming or shaming myself, I don't do that to other people. When I see someone who is in distress, angry, even if they're shouting at me or insulting or whatever it may be, I no longer take it personal because I have seen how incredibly challenging it is to witness these states internally, and to have the capacity and the skillful means to alleviate this pain. And if it's been that challenging for me, imagine what they're dealing with when they're shouting and they're projecting and they're blaming and they're like, you. That's what's actually going inside themselves. Imagine living with that energy, right? So it's like, oh my gosh, they're only pleading for help. So now this is what freeing other people, because you're not condemning them. You're actually now in a capacity to be of true service to them, because you can see clearly that they're in internal distress, because you've witnessed your own internal distress. So when we treat ourselves with compassion and forgiveness, and we balance ourselves and we increase capacity to witness these very subtle unconscious tendencies, now we're in a position to be of true service to others. So with that, let's see, I'd like to leave you with homework. So today's Friday. Notice if you're able to let go of the week and actually enjoy and delight of whatever activity you had been looking for this weekend. Whatever activity that was. Can you be in that activity in full presence? How will you know if you're present? You have no urgency to get up, look at your phone, check your email, get back to someone, go get the car fixed, get a massage. Nope, none of that, which may arise because you may have been practicing that a lot, may arise, but the task is to, awareness. Oh, this is trying to grab my attention from the present moment. Oh, nice. I'm so grateful to be aware. And I'm going to choose to not take action on that urgency and be present. So that's the homework for this weekend. Delight in what you have already planned will be your activity for the weekend. And do that fully, in full presence, in full balance, in full delight of life. That's your homework for this weekend. And when it doesn't feel that you can do that, then you simply accept, this is the work. I see. No need to condemn myself, no need to blame myself, no need to criticize, no need to project, no need for other people to do anything. This is just the work of internal freedom, internal liberation. Free yourself so that then you can free the world. If you would like more support with this kind of work, we have 1 week left to sign up for the Intentional Evolution Intensive, which starts on August 5th. It is a 10-week transformative journey. It is everything that I have gathered throughout an entire lifetime of building discipline that I have now put into 6 years of internal journey so that it's easier for you. And it's called an intensive because it is intensive. So the Intentional Evolution Intensive is an intensive transformation program because we work every single day from Monday through Friday, every single day for 10 weeks. Why do we do that? Because you're going to leave that program with the discipline of seeing things from a different vantage point, of cultivating the tools that are bound to bring you inner peace, freedom, and harmony. Accepting yourself so that you can accept the world. So it is intensive, but it is highly optimized to give you the tools, the skillful means to show up in life in a way that is meaningful and in alignment with our deepest values of contributing. We all want to contribute. We start with balancing ourselves so that we can show up to the world. So I welcome you to apply to the program. Thank you for watching. Have a beautiful weekend. Stay present. Namaste.